Yeah, Inside Out is definitely one of Pixar's better concepts till date, pushing Pixar level animation quality. Like, it tells a decent story, it's emotionally grabbing, and it has some pretty solid characters. And that's what I'm here to talk about. The characters from the movie, particularly the inside characters and not the actual people. How innovative the concept behind them was. The little nuances, flaws, and wholesome moments that gave them such depth. And just how well some of these characters embodied the emotions they were supposed to portray. Also, I'll be rating each character that I talk about in today's video out of 10. Details of how I go about that in the description, so stick around for those. Anyways, that said, let's get into it. So, if you haven't seen Inside Out in a while now, I bet you can at least remember that the movie was basically about these tiny people in everyone's minds that embodied a specific emotion and were therefore able to control the person's actions to a certain degree. And then there's these other characters that just go about tending to the things that your brain would normally do, like dreaming, sleeping, or even imagination. So for Riley, there's joy, there's sadness, there's fear, there's disgust, and then there's anger. Now, every person's distinct emotions were designed to physically resemble them in a way, and for almost everyone, all the emotions were the same gender. I say almost everyone because for some reason, Riley's emotions are depicted as both female and male. I wonder why that is. But anyways, it's mostly all fun and joyful memories for Riley, our young protagonist, well, until her family decides to move cities, and that's when things begin to go south. Fast.
Okay, not what I had in mind.
First, they had no furniture because the moving truck got delayed. Then her dad got real busy with work. Then she cried at school in front of everyone. And her friends back home were making new friends. And then she started to grow bitter. Worst of all, Pizza here had broccoli.
Pizza. That's it. I'm done.
Congratulations, San Francisco. You've ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians, and now you.
So she planned to run away. Yeah, running away was the bright idea that would solve all her problems. Kids. And all this while, both joy and sadness were missing from her headquarters. Only it's literally headquarters because it's living space for little emotion people in your head. Get it? Bit of a short recap there, but to be fair, it's trying to do justice to a 1.5 hour film in 2 minutes. So yeah. Now, what's my deal with the characters? Well, I intend to talk about 3 of them in this video, so let's start with the third. Joy. Now, this one might surprise you, but for the first part of the movie, I didn't actually like this character very much. Sure, she was bright, energetic, positive, like, that's Joy, right? But believe it or not, Joy's character started out as somewhat selfish. Actually very selfish. And by that, I don't mean she was like concerned only for herself. Rather, it's more like she did everything according to what she and only she felt was best for Riley. Basically, every decision was centered around her way of thinking. Considering that there were 4 other emotions in this first movie, it didn't turn out too great for Riley. Seeing as suppressing other important feelings like sadness and loneliness could very well lead to mental breakdowns, leaving a cold, unfeeling individual. Also, our Joy, Riley's Joy, was a bit of a control freak since day one. The fact that she was Riley's first emotion as a baby may be an exception here. I mean, how many babies after being born have the first ever emotion that they ever feel as joy? Anyways, if you watch the movie, you'll see that a lot of times things could have been resolved if Joy just listened or allowed another emotion to take control. Like the time when sadness wanted to make Riley cry by touching her memories, or the time when Riley made a core memory that was sad but Joy decided that had to go down the trash. This next one's probably a plot hole, but why didn't Joy just send the core memories back up to HQ using the memory wall? Just like that old TV commercial. Wouldn't that have saved the personality islands? Believe me when I say, trying to be strong and happy on the outside, all the time, it may sound cool and all, but at the same time, it may be crushing you on the inside. Literally. because being pessimistic, or even fear and disgust, they're all key emotions that evolved with our survival instinct, and Joy actively trying to suppress those emotions was wrong, even if it was unknowingly. And by now, you may be wondering, why oh why then is Joy on this list? Well, it's actually pretty obvious. She had a nice little redeeming arc. What that is a narrative that has the character start out in a low place, either by being weak, despicable, selfish, essentially all the things you wouldn't want to be. And throughout the length of the film, they grow, they mature, they assume a better version. They redeem themselves. And that's basically what we saw with Joy's character here. Because when she was down with Bing Bong in the memory dump and saw the blue core memory again, she realized that what Riley really needed then was to be sad. To allow herself to feel again, to cry and let it all out. And that way, her family could come in and help. And even though that core realization should have come when she first saw the positive effect sadness could have on people, it was still welcome. And that right there, my friends, that arc, is what makes Joy a solid character. Just leaves you satisfied that there was at least some resolution in the end. Easily an 8 out of 10 in anyone's books. Moving on to the next character on the list, Bing Bong. Yep, that's Riley's imaginary friend who's made of cotton candy and is part cat, part elephant and part dolphin.
Dolphin?
Because why not? Now with this one, do I even have to elaborate why he's such an iconic character in this movie? Because if you can remember, Bing Bong sacrificed himself to save Joy by throwing himself off the rocket to make it lighter, rescuing her from the memory dump while he himself faded away and was forgotten for good. Possibly even by the emotions, as no mention of him is made when Joy and Sadness make it back to HQ. But that's not all, as even he has a laudable character arc. See, when we're first introduced to his character, he's seen stealing memories, but the movie never tells us why.
I will take you, but not you. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't leave you.
Hello!
However, from the things he says and his actions, it's obvious that he's battling not being known and that he's struggling with the constant fear of being forgotten entirely. Him being able to overcome that fear in the end, in an unforgettable act of selflessness, was the key moment that earned him a reputable place in all our memories, and we'll forever remember him as one of Pixar's best characters, which is why he's an easy 9 for me.
Take her to the moon for me, okay?
Now, for the last character on the list, a rainbow unicorn. I'm kidding. Sadness. Sadness is the last character on this list. Arguably the most easygoing of the lot. All the other emotions treated Sadness like she just barely existed for the sake of it, and rewatching the movie, it got unnerving just listening to how many times she had to apologize for doing the things that her character was supposed to be doing. Again, I get that the other emotions didn't exactly know much about anything themselves, but on the side of Sadness, it takes a truly wholesome character to go through all of that for the 11 years Riley's been growing up. She had her qualities. She helped Bing Bong feel better after he lost his rocket just by hearing him out. Joy couldn't manage to make him happy because the situation wasn't for her to handle. Sadness was just the more emphatic, more selfless character, evident in Riley's mom. Yet, no one really paid any attention to her. When you think about it, her character was truly sad, because for the most part of the movie, even she tried to correct herself like everyone else, often saying things like,
Sorry, I went sad again, didn't I?
I'll tell you what, we can keep working on that when we get back, okay?
Sure, she carries the weight of most of the negative feelings, like being overtly pessimistic and annoying sometimes, but that's fair for the very emotions she embodies. And even though you may not exactly like her, you'll have to agree that she's a rock-solid character in this movie. Nicely portrayed. 8.5 out of 10. And that's wraps, people. There's a ton of other little details that further cement the characters from Inside Out as some of the best from Pixar movies, like how each character was designed to reflect a shape that represented their emotion. So, joy was a star, sadness was a teardrop, fear was a raw nerve, anger was a fire brick, and disgust, well, disgust was broccoli. Who would have guessed? Just goes to show how much time and thought went into these characters. This first movie was so creative and original. I'll have to score a 9 out of 10. If you feel like you latched on to these characters as much as I did, definitely give this video a thumbs up, and by all means, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. By the way, I'm working on this bonkers theory about the world of Inside Out, but that'll have to wait until the second movie releases. So get subscribed for when that comes out. But until then, it's bye for now. See ya.